I am so tech deficient. I got to figure out this Facebook thing. It popped up saying that there was a question someone asked. And that was, I'm trying to be there. I'm trying to be supportive. They make the appointments. And then when I remind them to go the day of, they go ahead and say, oh, you're wanting me to live your way and different things. And I get that. And so I'm going to have you consider this first is we don't want to parent our loved one. We want to hold them accountable. So if I'm there alongside, I can say, hey, how can I help? What can I do? But if I take that role of parent with my spouse or significant other and saying, hey, you better go to the appointment or don't forget the appointment, that causes friction. So the thing to do is, since this is a reoccurring theme, when that appointment is missed, that is where you sit down afterwards and say, hey, I'm really hurt and disappointed because you made a commitment to me that you would do this for you and for us. And when it came time to, I'm proud of you for making the appointment. And I do want to affirm that, but then you don't follow through. And so when you have that conversation, so it's the grace and the love with the accountability. That is where most people either go too far to the accountability. You never go to the appointments you make. And it's this just crazy. I don't want to say crazy, but well, yeah, I guess I do. It's this because I know I've been on the other end where there's this crazy blame and parenting and nagging. That is a no-go. So we call it too much blame. But over here, when there's too much grace and empathy, change isn't either. That's why we got to go in the middle. So when setting boundaries, to say, again, after some time when it's not heated, hey, I've noticed a pattern. I don't know how to get rid of that call. I noticed a pattern. And the pattern is you make the appointment when we sit down and talk, and I'm thankful for that. The pattern is you don't follow through, and that's the part that I am needing for me in order to continue with how we are doing things. So that's where you set the boundary. That's where you set of saying, hey, if you choose not to go, I understand that, but I will not continue to engage until this is done. And then you have to set the parameters with what it is that you want. Are you going to go ahead and stay somewhere else for the night if you live together? Are you going to go ahead and say, I'm gonna limit communication and I'm going to choose not to call or answer calls until that's done? That's how serious this is to me. And when you don't follow through, I feel manipulated, I feel, and whatever it is. Now, those are triggering words. So person, I'm not manipulating you. That's where you go, oh, hold on, pause. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying this is how I feel. This is the story I create within myself. There's a huge change and it's a dynamic shift once I begin to own my own things and don't let people tell me how I should or shouldn't feel. And the stories that I create, what it does is it takes away the back and forth of arguing. Because if I tell you, I am hurt, when you said you would call and you didn't, I'm hurt. And the story that I come up with, this is how crazy my mind gets, is you're either out with someone else, you just don't care. I don't think any of that's true, but that's what I go through. And then when a person goes, oh, you're so selfish, this, whatever they say, you can say, well, hold on. I was sharing with you my experience. I don't think you really have a place to tell me what I do or don't feel. My goal is you hear me and you want to empathize and connect with me, just as I want to empathize and connect with you. But you don't get to tell me how I should and shouldn't feel, just like I don't want to tell you how you should and shouldn't feel. For us to continue in this relationship, whether it's a marriage, it's a significant other. Now, if it's family, in order for you to live under my roof, which I know that's a trigger for a lot of people, but it's setting the boundary. If I am to continue paying for your cell phone or your food or whatever it is, here is what is needed. And I got to make sure that it works for both of us, because if you are going to say, oh, I'm going to do that and not follow through, I'm not listening anymore to the words. I want to see the actions. And I will be here to love you, whether you follow through or not. I will always love you, especially with family. It's that unconditional love, but it's with boundaries and accountability. That's the part that so many people miss, and why I want to continue to really hit on this topic of accountability with boundaries. So that way we can allow the space for the grace and to be there and empathetic, but still not allow manipulation to happen and have a lack of accountability. So hopefully that helps address a little bit more. Keep the questions coming. I want to find a way where I can actually do it on the same thread, because I just want to keep helping. Because as you master this is the key to freedom of being a spouse of a person who's struggling with addiction or alcohol. is by having a firm stand, taking a stand, no blame, no shame, no guilt, speaking from where I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what works for me, also wanting to know, what are you thinking? What are you feeling works for you? And if it's something that we both can live with and agree with, we continue to move forward. If not, then it does come to that painful place of saying, you know what, then at this point in time, I'm not able to be in this type of relationship. That doesn't mean we won't revisit it in the future. We see that all the time, whether it's a 6-month break, a year break, a divorce, and back together. It's one of those things of setting the boundaries, because we have to allow consequences to fall on the people, but we don't want to parent. That's the biggest issue I see, is when a significant other is parenting, either A, picking up their consequences, or B, telling them what they should and shouldn't do, as opposed to allowing choice and consequence. If you have any more questions, keep them coming.